Secret Success Hypnosis Clinic presents the Hypno2Hypno podcast. For more information, visit secretsuccesshypnosis.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hypno2Hypno podcast, where you can learn about hypnosis, hypnotists around the world, and what kind works for you. My name is Johanna Dinsdale, clinical hypnotist and founder of Secret Success Hypnosis Clinic. Today, our guest speaker is the distinguished Jay Cataldo from New York. He is the CEO of Relate Right Inc., IACT certified master hypnosis trainer and life coach. He's also the owner of learnhypnosis.com. Welcome, Jay.
How are you? Learnhypnosisfast.com.
Learnhypnosisfast.com.
Don't forget about the speed. The speed is very important, but thank you for having me.
No one's going to forget that now.
No one's
fast part.
Absolutely. That was drilled into their heads.
Yep.
So thank you for having me. I guess it's kind of beneficial that this lockdown happened because my schedule's freed up. I'm just sitting here chilling. You reached out to me. You're like, hey, you want to do a podcast? I'm like, sure.
Yeah, why not get the word out there?
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started.
Sure. So let's see. I've been doing this a very long time. I took my first hypnosis training in 1997. This was with a hypnotist named Mark Cunningham. He's actually pretty well known nowadays. Back in the day when I met Mark, I believe that was his first training ever. He was running a positive changes hypnosis franchise in Toledo, Ohio. And then he branched out. He started doing some workshops. So I went out there. I was about 19 years old at the time, and I took a workshop with a buddy of mine. Took this workshop, and same thing. I was just kind of blown away at how interesting it was. And I was only 19. When you're young, you tend to be very suggestible. So people are making me forget my name, stick my hand to certain things. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. And my initial interest in it was really just for fun, recreation. It seemed cool, and part of, I guess I was curious to see if it was real or just all BS. And then after I learned about it and I, had it done on me, and Mark was hypnotizing the whole, the class and all that kind of stuff, right? That's when I said, okay, well, there's obviously some therapeutic benefits here. Maybe I can use this to better my life. And at the time, I had a lot of social anxiety. I was very shy. I wasn't like too insecure, but I thought, what if I can use this to make myself even more confident, right? Mm-hmm. What if I can use this to become maybe a great public speaker, or to have more charisma, or to feel more comfortable in a sales situation or business situation? So I had a lot of ideas about how this could maybe make me a better person, better speaker, better boyfriend, better son, better everything. And I just kind of fell into it at that point, started studying more videos at the time. It's mostly home, videos and books. And if you could scrape together a bunch of money as a 19-year-old, then yes, you go travel somewhere and do a workshop. It really came later. I think at 22, 23, I started putting more money into workshops and traveling and training and meeting other hypnotists and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, so 20-something years later, I had my own hypnosis school. That's a whole other story, how that happened. It's kind of a weird thing. I've been working as a life coach in New York City. I started my practice in 2009, so a little bit over 10 years. And I have clients all over the world, every nationality, ethnicity, every background, every age. So it all just kind of started kind of like you, like, what is this stuff? Like, this is interesting. Let me explore it. And then for me, it turned into a whole career, changed my whole life. I use it in my relationships. I mean, it's really just, I can't really separate hypnosis from myself and what I do. Pretty much every communication I have with someone now is hypnotic in nature to some degree, if that makes sense.
No, it definitely does. You can use it in everyday conversation. There's so many applications to hypnosis. So Absolutely. I'm wondering, how do you personally define hypnosis?
Well, all right. So how do I start? So let me tell you my story real quick about how the course came about, and then we can segue into that. So my hypnosis journey was a long one. And because of all this, what I would call misinformation out there and convoluted trainings and books that didn't make sense and workshop demos where they pick the best subjects and then you find someone home, you're like, this didn't work for me. What am I doing wrong? All that. It took me so long to get to a point where I felt super comfortable as a hypnotist. I'm talking years, maybe decades. So when I put out my first course, the 7-Day Quick Start course, which was requested by YouTube subscribers who saw my goofy YouTube videos, said, hey, this is nuts, but can you teach me? My purpose for that course was to take out everything that was either convoluted or pointless, like the history of hypnosis or terminology about arguing. Is it hypnosis? Is it trance? Is trance a gateway into it? What's the definition of it? It just drove me crazy. Like, it's just a bunch of stuff that gets in the way of learning the actual techniques and being really practical and skilled and effective at getting the results you want. So to answer your question, in my course, I said, look, I don't care. Use whatever terms you want, right? People are arguing, the Dave Ellman example or definition is fine, right? The bypass of the critical faculty of the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and the establishment of selective thinking. I don't remember. I learned that 20 years ago. That's fine. But what does it mean? You're taking someone's normal thought process from, okay, I'm going to analyze everything, to let me just take this information in, not analyze it, and let my subconscious act on it. That's it. So selective thinking is, do you have their focus? Do you have their attention, right? And there's so many variables to that. You need to have rapport. You need to make sure the person's trusting. And then, of course, the suggestibility of the subject comes into play. You're a natty, right? You went down, you woke up, you're like, what's happening? You probably had amnesia for a lot of that your first time, right? So you have a natural innate ability to go into the state. But we're all going into trance or hypnosis, whatever you want to call it, 24/7 all day long. All right. So I guess my personal definition, which isn't necessarily technically right, is anytime you purposely put someone or someone finds themselves in a suggestible state for the purpose of putting some information in their head that you want them to act on. Keeps it simple. Now, it's not just a person. You can be hypnotized by your television, right? In theory, you can be in a trance state driving your car, highway hypnosis, right? But since no one's there to actually utilize that state and put stuff in your head, well, is it really hypnosis? Maybe. I mean, Richard Bandler's definition is equally as good. Everything's hypnosis and nothing's hypnosis. That works out well too, right? So it's really hard to define. I just tell my students, look, use whatever definition makes most sense to you. If it helps you learn, great. If it confuses you, forget about it. Forget about terminology. Just learn the techniques and learn how to be effective.
I think you make a lot of really good points. A lot of people get stuck with the definition and, was I in trance? What's going on here?
Exactly.
Like they get stuck with the kind of conscious thinking of what the heck is it?
Because it's so unusual.
Just let it work, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, right. Just go with it. Because everyone experiences it differently. Different trance states feel differently. What your trance state felt like today may not match what you felt yesterday. There's a lot about this stuff we don't understand, but just like everything else in life, right? So that's why terminology, definition, who cares? Just use these techniques. And what I tell my students, probably the most important thing you can learn is how to troubleshoot, because 9 times out of 10, nothing is going to work. I don't care what you think. In the session, everything looks great. Client reports, everything's changed. I think about the snake. It's great. Yay. It doesn't always work. And sometimes, there's reasons for it. There's secondary gain issues, and there's numerous triggers. You got 1 or 2, but not the other ones, whatever. That's fine. It's not about, having this amazing technique that works every single time. It's about having a set of tools that can bring someone from where they are to where they want to be. If it takes a bunch of sessions, who cares? Therapy is like 5 to 10 years, and that's standard. No problem. Really? 8 years of therapy? Well, yeah, I kind of understand my problems better. One day I'll be free of them. Okay. So it's like, if it takes you 10 sessions of working with someone to completely change their life, who gives a shit? That's how I see it. So, my approach is a little bit different because, I kind of brand myself as a life coach as opposed to a hypnotist. So many of my clients don't even know I use hypnosis because why do I have to talk about it? It's just another tool in my toolkit. If they specifically say, hey, can you formally hypnotize me? Sure. But as you know, there's a lot of change work you can do conversationally. I mean, NLP is just conversational hypnosis, right? And, you know, within NLP, there's good NLPers and horrible NLPers. And there's like master NLPers where it's almost impossible to decipher what they're doing, right? So, you know, you can continue to improve in all these areas and eventually get to a point where it's about the change. You don't care what tool you use. You don't care what, it doesn't even have to be a hypnotic tool. I use other modalities that have nothing to do with hypnosis, at least, you know, conceptually, that work just as well, if not better. So for me, it's about getting the result and getting the result fast. And if hypnosis helps me, great. If it doesn't seem to work well for that person, I'm not going to spend all this time trying different inductions. Just no, I'll jump to something else. And, you know, sometimes it's just a conversation. That's all it takes, because yes, you can use hypnotic elements in your conversation. You can create create a whole new paradigm shift just through conversation. Do I need a formal trance? No, neither do you or anybody else. And of course, it depends on the person, their willingness, their openness, how invested they are, their natural trance ability, all these different things. And that's why you know, I can't find any paint by numbers system that works. I teach that to my clients. Here's a roadmap that works, let's say 80% of the time, right? But you have to learn how to deviate from that and to troubleshoot when necessary, or you're going to have clients that say, yes, this was great, my whole life changed, and then they disappear. They never come back because they're too nice to tell you, no, it didn't work, or it kind of worked a little bit, or I don't think I was hypnotized, right? So my model of working with people for a minimum of 3 months pretty much guarantees I'm going to change their life. And it removes that potential of you do a 3-session package and then the person's frustrated, it doesn't work, they don't come back, you don't know what happened to them, right? Or maybe they did stop smoking, but 3 months later, they started smoking again, and they're embarrassed to reach out to you. So, you know, I keep in touch with my clients for years, not necessarily working with them for years, but, you know, every year I'll reach out, what's going on, how's your life? And I kind of track these changes over time to make sure that if anything doesn't stick or something comes back or another crazy thing happens, that I can go back in and help them. Because ultimately that's what it's about. I don't try to be the guy that can make major, you know, miracles happen in one session. Sometimes that's great. I've been doing this 20 years. I still can't do that consistently. But I can consistently change a person's life 95% of the time if all the parameters are right. They want it, they're invested, they're open and honest with me, and I have enough time with them. So if I hit roadblocks, I can figure out how to get them over it. And a lot of it's just testing. Try this, test that out. In line with hypnosis, something else that's important is adding that coaching element to it. Because, all right, let's say I help you stop smoking. Wonderful. You're probably going to live an extra 20 years, right? You save a whole bunch of money on cigarettes, but how is that going to change your life? What's going to change now, right? You still have stress. You still have job issues. You still have other things going on. What if you stopped smoking? You started eating? And I don't know. We don't know because it's not apparent until 3-4 months later when you put on 40, 50 pounds, right? So there's a lot of coaching tools that need to be incorporated, I think. You know, this is how you need to act differently, and this is what you should be doing differently in the real world. Here's a new set of skills, right? We change your behavior patterns to a certain degree. We changed your mindset. We changed your negative beliefs. We changed how you react to stress, but you still need tools. You know, a lot of guys come to me, they want to learn how to pick up girls. They want to learn how to, you know, have better relationships. You can't use hypnosis for that, right? You can remove limiting beliefs, give them some more confidence, but you have to learn certain things. Do this, say this, don't do that, right? They have to create new patterns in the real world. And if you're not supervised in that process, they may end up creating garbage patterns that they got to come back to 2 years later to fix again.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
It happens, definitely.
100%, which is why I'm just like, you know, I can be so much more effective if I just use a coaching paradigm and a coaching framework as opposed to the standard 3 to 5 sessions to fix your whatever. So that's what I do.
Okay, great. Can you tell us a little bit more about the framework that you had? I think you mentioned 7 steps.
I don't really have a set number of steps. Typically when people come to me, the first thing I always do is I'll do a complimentary coaching session with them on the phone. I'll spend anywhere from 30 minutes to maybe sometimes 90 minutes with them, complimentary, free of charge. So I can really dive in and get their whole history, what's going on, how long have you had the issue, like all the things that a hypnotist would typically do in an intake session, I do way before. Because, my system is predicated on, I'm not going to work with someone unless I'm 95% sure I can help them. And there's no way I can know unless I spend some time with them, right? So, and again, not everyone's comfortable doing that. People are like, well, I'm going to waste my time and blah, blah. Yeah, okay, sure. There's a little bit of that. But to me, I just look at it like they're pro bono sessions. If I decide not to take someone on, either because I feel like, I'm not competent enough to work with them. Again, you have mental health issues that come to you, right? Sometimes people are suicidal, things we shouldn't be working with as hypnotists, right? I can't work with them. Other times it's just not my forte. They require they have a particular business problem that I might be able to help them with, but it's probably better for me to just send them elsewhere, right? Or, whatever it is. So if I decide not to work with them, I can still help them as best I can in that initial call. Give them tons of strategies, help change limiting beliefs, all conversationally, right? Make a major impact. So to me, it's like if they don't become a client, who cares? I'm still giving, I'm still demonstrating what I can do for them, helping them. And again, I'm paying it forward. That's it. Okay, you're not my client, who cares? Like, I'm still helping you change your life. But through that process, you're going to get so many amazing clients who are pre-framed to understand what you do, to value what you do. They believe now you're an expert, because it's one thing for them to see your certificates and watch videos of you and all this kind of stuff. People really don't care about that. They care about themselves. Can you help me personally? Well, sure, I can help you. I've helped 100 people stop smoking. Yeah, but I'm different. What about me, right? So when you speak to them, and it's your conversation is customized to them, their issues, their challenges, and you prove to them that you're an expert in their worldview, well, then the coaching is going to be, coaching, hypnosis, whatever, is going to go fantastically well, almost always. So for me, I may have to make sure I can help them. I have to make sure that they can do the work necessary. And again, it's a little bit different. Hypnosis, the presupposition, as you come in, you lay down in the chair, I do my voodoo magic, you're cured, right? With coaching, it's no, like, you're going to put some work in. I'm going to kick your ass a little bit to make sure you're implementing these steps, because that's what you're paying me for, right? Now, it's not just as simple as do these steps, because if they can do those steps, they wouldn't need you as a coach. Makes sense? A coach is way more than, a good coach is more than just an accountability partner. You didn't do your homework. That's bad. I'm giving you a D-. You need to do it by Tuesday. No, they can't do it. So help them remove the blocks that are in the way of them doing the result, getting the result, right? So, yeah, so for me, typically, depending on the issue, I'll usually spend anywhere from 3 to 6 months, sometimes longer, working with someone. And it depends. 3, 4 months, I can make a major dent in almost any problem that a person has in that time frame, even when it comes to dating, which is like a whole different ballgame. You're going to learn all the skill set. You have to stop women on the street, say hello, learn how to do that appropriately, not be weird, not be creepy, also do it in a seductive way. There's so much to learn when it comes to dating and maintaining relationships, but you can still teach someone a tremendous amount within 3 to 4 months. All right. Of course, when there's problems, they come to me for that are very specific. I'm afraid of driving. Great. We can do that maybe 1 or 2 sessions. Sure. But again, it's like, how is that going to change your life? Okay, now you can drive to the store instead of having grandma take you. Wonderful. But what else do you want? Well, I want to get over stress. I want to get a better job. I want to have a girlfriend. Great. Let's work on all that stuff too. Does that make sense? So people come to me for 1 or 2 things, and we end up working on everything that they want to change. And once you change
that's where the
thing,
life comes in, right? It's the whole life, not just one issue.
100%. Once they have some confidence that they can actually change things, maybe they had it for 20, 30 years, and they get over it in a couple of weeks, then they open up to, oh my God, like, what else can I fix? How else can I develop myself as a person?
Yeah, that's great. So I've interviewed a few people now, but you're
Not
the
just
first.
me?
Not
You're
just
cheating on me with
you.
other people? That's
No.
terrible.
So what drew you to using, hypnosis and sexuality with, love lives? How does that intermingle?
So the
Because it's
Mindvana
pretty.
stuff you're asking about specifically, like my sexual hypnosis products?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I just think it's so interesting. Like, not a lot of people out there do it.
absolutely. So, all right, this is a bit of a long story, but let me back up a little bit. So, maybe 5, 6 years ago, I got back into hypnosis after like a hiatus of not really caring too much about it. I was using it here and there in my practice, but I wasn't like really big into it. And at some point, I was like, okay, let me start practicing all the different elements of this that I wanted to do, but never really got around to. So I would, just find a whole bunch of girls who were open and willing to just do some practice. I would film all my sessions with them, just, personal sessions. I wouldn't do this with clients. Personal sessions were just fun, silly. We can do silly skits. We can do sexuality, orgasms, all that kind of stuff that you should never do with actual paying clients, right? So filmed all my sessions, got a couple cool, interesting ones. I'm like, this is fun. This is interesting. People might like this. So I had this one session, pretty tame compared to what I do nowadays. Can't really remember what the content was. I'm like, this is fun. This is cool. Threw it up on YouTube, and I made the title, The World's Douchiest Hypnotist, right? Now, it wasn't that douchey, wasn't that stupid, but I knew YouTube marketing a little bit. I knew like the crazier and weirder you can be, the more eyeballs you're going to get. So that video pretty much started taking off. And to me, it was great. 20,000 views in a few months. I'm like, that's amazing for me. Wow, this is crazy. So, a lot of people saying this is cool. A lot of people saying he really is a douche and he's an idiot and he's a loser, blah, 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 whatever. Cool. That's YouTube. So after that, I got inspired. And I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to put another video up, I want it to just be amazing. I wanted to go viral. Now, I had no experience with viral videos or YouTube or anything. This is all conceptual stuff in my head. So for the next month or two, still practicing, doing my thing with different girls. Found a girl who was a natty, natural somnambulist. For people listening who don't know that term, I just call them natties. People who are massively hypersuggestible. They go right into hypnosis. Those are the ones that are chosen for hypnosis stage shows. They do all the skits, negative hallucination, the whole nine. They just have kind of an innate ability to do this stuff. So found this girl. She was amazing. She was totally open to everything. She was cool with the sexual hypnosis, the whole nine. So we started doing hypnotic orgasms, and she looked like she was convulsing. Like she was like flopping out of the couch. Like, this doesn't even look real. But I knew it was real. Question was, are other people going to think it's real? They're going to think it's fake? Doesn't matter. It's controversial. It's crazy. So I had an idea come to me that night. I'm like, what if I can take the douchey hypnotist aspect a step further, be even douchier? What if I control her using sound effects on my phone? So instead of using like standard triggers, when I snap my fingers, you'll find your body freezing. What if I have a sound effect that does this? And it just says like, shut up. And then she can't talk, right? Totally douchey, totally inappropriate, but funny. So I did it. I had her back in, did this session with all the sound effects. It was unscripted, and it was amazing. And as I'm doing it, I'm laughing to myself. I'm like, this is going to be incredible for YouTube. So at the end, I gave her orgasms with the sound effect on the phone. It just looked like I'm a lazy boyfriend just hitting buttons, and she's like having fun over there, like every lazy man stream, right? And again, it doesn't always work that way with real girlfriends, but you find a great subject who's open and you have consent and all that stuff, right? People think, oh, you can just manipulate girls against their will. No, you can't. For everyone who thinks that, not true. And what was interesting was, as that started to grow, there were still 10, 15% of comments where people saying, hey, this is really cool. I don't know if it works or not. It seems almost too good to be true, unbelievable. But if it's real, can you teach me? And I was like, I guess, sure. So that's when I locked myself in my room for 4 months, and I just started working on the basic course, which just teaches 70 quick start courses, all the foundations of hypnosis. I was mentioning it earlier. It's what I wanted 20 years ago, where you can take this course within 7 days. You're hypnotizing anyone like a pro. You can do deep trance work, you can do phenomena, you can do some, simple therapy stuff, right? With no terminology, no nonsense, no guesswork, no the crap, no 40 different inductions that are necessary, just everything you need to be amazing as quickly as possible, right? So I put that course out, and I sold it for peanuts. It's probably worth at least $500. I sold it for $67. It's still $67 today for everyone who wants to get it, because I want everyone to be able to say, look, I got this course, I went through it, it taught me everything, it saved me a ton of money. So that's available for everybody. That course can teach you everything you need, get you up and running. Even advanced hypnotists can pick something up from that, right? And, oh, just clarify this. Oh, okay, now that part in the element I didn't really understand, it makes sense now. That's what I wanted for me. So I put that out there, and it got rave reviews. And then it went from there, well, Jay, this is bullshit because there is no sexual hypnosis in this product. Well, look, I know everybody wants to shoot guns like John Wick, but you got to learn the basics first, right? You can actually hold the gun, load the gun, rack the slide, all this stuff, work your way up to it. But of course, lots of requests for the sexual stuff. So that's when I started teaching workshops. I filmed my first one in Brooklyn. That's up on my site as well, the NYC Quick Start Erotic Hypnosis videos from a live workshop. I brought a bunch of girls in, did some live demonstrations, had the audience hypnotize the girls and do the hypnotic orgasm stuff, right? So everyone had a great time. That's what everybody likes. Like, to me, the orgasms are like so pointless. And so it's just like a stage trick, right? But everyone loves them. So I came up with I started, playing with this guy's techniques and adding in my own stuff and doing this a little bit differently. And my goal, because Me Too was happening at the time, right? Where it's like, oh boy, hypnosis is going to have a horrible reputation now because everyone thinks it's manipulative and you can do it without consent. And like, it's just rife for Me Too nonsense. So I'm like, all right, I'm not putting out a course that teaches guys how to hypnotize women against their will for sexual pleasure, right? Because that's what they're going to see it as, no matter how I frame it. So I'm like, okay, what if I take all hypnosis out of it, and I create a system where a man can work with his girlfriend or wife, right? And under the umbrella of meditation techniques and sexual enhancement techniques and yoga techniques, whatever you want to call it, other than hypnosis, you can completely transform your sex life, right? But again, it has to be done with a willing partner who already knows you. I mean, since relationships are about feelings, what if we as hypnotists can take that to a whole nother level? What if we were to actually generate these emotions on command, make them stronger over time? So as opposed to what typically happens where couples grow apart, they can grow closer together. They can feel more love, more intimacy, more connection, more confidence, more openness with each other, right? And nothing has to be done. Why do I have to do anything to you? Take you anywhere, buy you flowers, listen to you talk for 4 hours. I'm sure your day was wonderful and I should hear all about it. But I shouldn't have to do that to make you feel amazing. You should feel amazing just sitting down next to me on the couch. I'll put my arm around you. You feel like you're the happiest girl in the world. Make sense? Now, of course, that's not all we're going to do for the rest of our lives, but it's really useful to help you access those feelings instantly. And
it's really interesting. You're using hypnosis in a really cool way.
Absolutely. And you should ideally be doing that for me. It's not all about, she's the princess, make her feel great. It's a two-way street, right? And, there's many ways to make people feel wonderful. You don't just need hypnotic concepts. But as relationships progress, people start taking each other for granted and life stuff comes up and we're stressed out. And now you were angry about something and then we stop doing all the little things, all this stuff, and shit unravels, it falls apart. And then typically people say, well, I'm going to go find somebody else. We fell out of love. He's not the same person or she's not the same person. I'll replace them and I'll get the love I need. Bullshit. 99% of the time, you're going to replace your girl with someone or a guy with someone who has the same set of behavior patterns. You're going to have the same relationship. You're going to play out the same parental drama you've been doing your whole life. And inevitably, when that initial honeymoon period wears off, you'll be back in the same boat. So I'm a huge proponent of people taking what they already have and feeding it, nurturing it, watering it, as opposed to thinking, oh, the grass is greener. And sadly, our culture promotes that, just whatever, he's a dickhead, divorce him, take his money, YOLO, eat, pray, love, great. And then a couple years later, you're miserable again because you lost something that's far more valuable than that, right? You can't just replace these things with these little dopamine hits. It's like being a drug addict, right? You can't replace your relationship with cocaine. Maybe temporarily, not going to work out well for you. So getting back to us, you're sitting on the couch with me, and I whisper something in your ear, you feel amazing, you feel sexy, you feel beautiful, right? All your stress is gone. The next thing I want you to do, or want you to feel, is very, very sensitive. Not sensitive ticklish, but like there's a difference between when someone like touches you in the arm, whatever, like a friend touches you, right? And when someone you really, really care about touches you, maybe someone you're really interested in, there's a difference in the sensation and there's a difference in your receptivity. And when the person you really care about touches you, it just feels fucking amazing. And you feel all this warmth spread through your body, right? And you just kind of like something unlocks in your body. And now you want to be touched more. And maybe you just want to have them wrap their arms around you. Maybe you start having these naughty thoughts float inside your head because you're now in this state where you're ready for more. And again, of course, the trust is there, the connection's there, the comfort's there. That's a given. We don't have to worry about that. But now, because that's all there and your sensitivity is increasing, and maybe that happens because I lean over, I pull you close, I kiss you on the cheek, and I say, cupcake. And normally that wouldn't mean anything, but maybe that's our word for you to go into the state, get really turned on, to start feeling warm, to start feeling tingly all over, right? Like that state where you really want to be kissed. Because in this state, even the littlest kiss just feels fucking amazing. Makes sense? So when you can play with these emotions and open up to that and take this energy inside you, this energy of our relationship, right, that we've cultivated together, and we activate it, we're essentially in this moment changing the structure of it. So now we took that comfortable, supportive, relaxing energy, and we put some heat into it, right? There's some fire, there's a spark, and you feel yourself responding. Your heart may start to pound, your breathing gets a little faster. I touch the back of your neck, and you just get shivers through your body. And I pull you closer, and I say, baby, you're so fucking beautiful. Cupcake. And you laugh because it's funny. But every time I say cupcake, guess what? Those feelings get stronger. And your arousal gets stronger. Because why would I want to convince you to want me? Why do I have to talk you into it? Why should I ever have to say, it's my birthday, I'm horny, right? Why can't I just make you so fucking turned on that you jump on top of me? And I literally have to push you off because I'm watching TV and it's my favorite show until you get so angry that you take the remote, you throw it at the TV, you break the TV, you jump on top of me, and then you show me how much you love me. And of course, some people like their negative emotions. They like to stay there temporarily. Absolutely. And they're not necessarily these horrible things. Life is in balance, yin yang, summer, winter, right? Angry and loving, compassionate. Like you got to have all these different variations, right? You can't just be happy 24/7. In theory, maybe you can, but then happiness would most likely flatline and just start to feel like neutrality. So the variances are useful, right? Which is why sometimes you don't see your lover for 3-4 days or a week. You miss them more, right? And then you're even more excited to see them. So all those things are good, but they have to be balanced. Most relationships tend to be, at least in my opinion, 80% negative feelings, 20% positive feelings, right? So the point is having the ability to instantly create these states, right? Because like you said, they're pissed off, I'm aggravated, I'm horny, this and that. Like, how do we both get to the same place without me having to do something negative, pressure you, threaten you, be passive aggressive, go on my Tinder and try to talk to some other girl, right? And all this kind of stuff people do. It's not, look at me, I'm awesome, you should want to be me, have my life. It's like, no, I'm not that awesome, I'm ordinary. Like, if I can do this shit, You can do it. Here is exactly how I do it. Here's my framework. Here, when I get stuck, this is what I think about. This is what I try. Sometimes nothing works. It doesn't work. Girl doesn't want to go there. And I want guys to see that, because that takes away all that bullshit about you don't need consent. They're like, oh, obviously she's not willing to go there. There's nothing he can do. And that's important for guys to understand. But with a girl who wants this, which is almost every girl, especially if you're dating her, you're not going to have these problems. So when you see me working in these ridiculous conditions, sometimes using touch makes it easier. I'm amplifying the arousal. You know, simple touches, touching the back of her neck and rubbing her hair. I'm not doing any sexual touches, because obviously it's going to turn her on. But if I can turn a girl on by just touching the back of her arm, think about that. I don't need to take her clothes off and do anything else, right? Because this is what I want to teach guys. Like, the whole point is to get a girl so turned on, feeling so amazing, and giving her orgasms, whispering in her fucking ear. Forget about you. Because when you can get her to that place, to that state, trust me, she's going to reciprocate tenfold, right? And also, how many other guys are going to be able to compete with you? Make sense? So if you really want to keep a girl, you know, loving and loyal for the long term, sex is like the most important thing. You don't have great sex, unfortunately, unless you guys are both religious and virgins and saving yourselves for marriage. It's almost impossible. You're going to be glorified roommates unless you're giving her amazing sex. And, you know, if she's had sexual partners before, like, why wouldn't you want to be the best she's ever had? And to be the best she's ever had, it's not about, you know, how big your whatever is, right? It's not about the positions, you know. It's about a mental connection, making her feel something by getting inside her mind and activating parts of her body that she's never felt before, and taking that to a level that she may never experience ever again with anyone else.
Could you let our audience know where they can contact you if they would like to find out more?
Absolutely. LearnHypnosisFast.com. You can download, I have free hypnosis products. You can download free induction videos. I have a video on there where I'm working with Maxim model Kiara Gomez. She's a friend of mine, really sweet girl. You can see her get hypnotized for the first time, and also learn the techniques that I'm doing as you're watching.
Perfect. That's great. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with our audience.